Hebrews. This is our Prophets of Awakening. This is our evening Shabbat class. We're going to close out Shabbat. Uh, this is the 17th of June, 2023. Just going to jump off of this morning, which was as Esau being judged in the scripture. Okay. Everybody know that you can go to our, we have a channel on YouTube, Prophets of Awakening, and you can check out our videos on there. There was a lot of information, and the videos will connect dots for anyone that's seeking the truth about the Holy Scriptures. And if you like what you're hearing and receiving through these videos, I'm asking you to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And anyone that's wanting to support the channel or support what's going on the channel, you can check me out on the bottom at for the PayPal Cash App. So for anyone that doesn't know, this is a non-Messianic channel. We deal with the TANAK and the Torah. The TANAK being the Old Testament, so-called Book of Remembrance, and the Torah is the first 5 books of the Old Testament, which is the law. And it was given to Moses by the Lord of Hosts. Okay. Welcome to our evening, Shalom, and welcome to Prophets of Awakening, and welcome to our evening Shabbat class. We're going to do our moment of silence, Sabbath prayer, Psalms, current events, little need to know information, and then we open it up for some questions and comments, and then we'll finish drawing off of as Esau being judged in the scripture. Okay. Like I said, this moment of silence is for the Lord of Hosts and all that He's doing to bring about our prophesied deliverance. Words that He spoke a long time ago by the prophets. Okay. Oh Lord, we come before you at this hour, bow down with great respect for our Redeemer. Oh Lord, you confessed through the prophet Isaiah that you would return unto us and that you would pour out your spirit upon us. Great in counsel and mighty in works, for thine eyes are open upon the ways of men, to give everyone according to his ways and according to the fruit of his doing. O Lord, behold, thou hast made the heavens and the earth by thy great power and thy stretched out hand, and there is nothing too hard for thee. And knowing all these things, O Lord, we eagerly await thy coming, the day in which thou wilt break the yoke of our oppressor. Peace be unto you. Okay. I'm going to read the Psalms. Okay. I'm going to read Psalms 2. It says, why do the heathen rage? Why do the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing? The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord and against his anointed, saying, let us break their bands asunder and cast away their cord from us. He that sitteth in the heavens shall laugh, and the Lord shall have them in derision. Then shall he speak unto them in his wrath, and vex them in his sore displeasure. Yet have I set my king upon my holy hill of Zion. I will declare the decree. And the Lord hath said unto me, thou art my son. This day I have begotten thee. Ask of me, and I shall give thee the heathen for thy inheritance, and the utmost parts of the earth for thy possession. Thou shalt break them with a rod of iron, and thou shalt dash them in pieces like a potter's vessel. Be wise now, therefore, O ye kings. Be instructed, ye judges of the earth. Serve the Lord with fear, and rejoice with trembling. Kiss the Son, lest he be angry, and ye shall perish from the way when his wrath is kindled, but a little. Blessed are they that put their trust in him. Okay, so that was Psalms chapter 2. Why do the heathen rage? Any comments on that, or anybody got anything on that? So for the people that don't know, A lot of so-called Christians and Christian apologists, they go to this verse right here, this psalm, and they go to the Justified JC, and that's verse 12. It says, "Kiss the Son, lest he be angry, and he shall perish from the way. And when his wrath is kindled, but a little, blessed are they that put their trust in him." So they're saying right here, why would the why would they say kiss the Son if it's not JC? So you go back and read it, and you stand on the right foundation, you will know that this is a Psalm of David, David talking. And David says in verse 1, "Why do the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing? The kings of the earth," like I said, these giants, kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers they counsel together against the Lord. That's why we know these ain't these giants, and against his anointed, right there. So we know that's David. We go to Psalms 132. So Psalms 132, and uh, you see in Psalms 132 that it says, uh, and it's all through Psalms. Verse 9, verse 8 in Psalms 132. "Arise, O Lord, in thy rest, and thou in the ark of thy strength. Let the priests be clothed with righteousness, and let thy saints shout for joy. For my servant David's sake," right? David, for David's sake, "turn not away thy face from thy anointed." So we see who the anointed is, David. That's Psalms 132. And then you go back to Psalms 2. This is Psalm of David. David the anointed. So he says in verse 2, "The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord and against his anointed." It's David. So we're going to see who the Son is. "Let us break the bands asunder, cast away their cords from us. He that sitteth in the heavens," that's Yahweh, Lord of hosts, "shall laugh. The Lord shall have them in derision. Then shall he speak unto them in wrath." So he's going to speak to these giants and these kings through his wrath, "and vex them in his sore displeasure. Yet have I set my king upon my holy hill Zion." That's David, Lord of hosts. Zion is his where he dwells at. Let's look at that. Connect these dots. So you go to Isaiah right quick. Isaiah chapter 8, verse 18. Isaiah chapter 8 says, chapter 8, verse 18, "Behold," this is Isaiah talking, "behold, I and the children whom the Lord have given me are for signs and wonders in Israel from the Lord of hosts." See that? The Lord of hosts, not Yahweh. The Lord of hosts, which dwelleth at Mount Zion. So it's the Lord of hosts, Michael, that dwells on Mount Zion, not Yahweh. Then we go back, Psalm chapter 2 and verse 6. Psalms 2 and 6. "Yet have I set my king upon my holy hill Zion." So that's the Lord of hosts. Set David upon Mount Zion. 7. "I will declare the decree." So he decreed that. "The Lord hath said unto me," David talking, "Thou art my son." There go the son right there. "Thou art my son. This day I have begotten thee." Notice they're using all this when it comes to JC, but it's David. Long before New Testament came, David was a son, and David was begotten. See that? Verse 7, "I will declare the decree. The Lord hath said unto me," David talking, "Thou art my son. This day I have begotten thee. Ask of me," David, "and I shall give thee the heathen for thine inheritance, and the utmost parts of the earth for thy possession. Thou shalt break them with a rod of iron, and thou shalt dash them into pieces like a potter's clay." That's these kings. "Be wise now, therefore, O ye kings. Be instructed, ye judges of the earth. Serve the Lord with fear, and rejoice with trembling. Kiss the Son." Now we see what the Son is. Kiss the Son. Telling these kings that. "Kiss the Son, lest he be angry, and ye perish from the way, when his wrath is kindled but a little. Blessed are all they that put their trust in him. Okay? Any comments? Okay. So with that being said, we're gonna do some current events.
That's garbage. They don't. It's just a big experiment. And keeping in mind that we're not that far from June 30th, and whether or not we will see a rumble from that LIBOR to SOFR transition, whoever holds the gold holds your power, holds your choices. Right as they're trying to take all of our freedoms away, take us into central bank digital currencies so that they have full surveillance on everything that we do. This is critical. China knows it. So do global central banks who have bought more gold than they ever have.
Go back to what I said before. This is what I said. Esau Pro is. You got the whole world duped with this de-dollarization thing. But like you said, gold. That's what the Most High deal with. You know, and I showed you how everything they do, they're duplicating what the Lord of hosts done, what Yahweh done. That's what the New Testament comes, copied off of Most High's words in the Old Testament. So they got the whole world duped on this here. But what's the final fact is, when all the dust settle, it's gonna be the gold. And everybody, 90-something% of the world gonna be left out. That's their objective.
Since we were transitioning into a new system, and what do we know? 7 in 10 central banks surveyed believe that gold reserves will increase in the next 12 months. This is a 10-point increase from last year. 7 in 10. Who's not? Well, let's hope there never is an audit of the U.S. reserves. That's what I can tell you. Because central banks are buying gold to have global purchasing power and global choices and global power. You need to do it for the same reason and many others. The U.S. is not immune is because, again, the Treasury bond is the foundation of the global market economy, the foundation, right? Well, we know we've been butting heads with China.
Stop right there. Stop scrolling.
Purchasing power left in any government-based money in the world, right? We know that these are truths. But China's U.S. Treasury holdings hit a 12-year low because of the rate hikes, because of the 10. Why? And yet at the same time, their gold imports are up 60% because they are diversifying away from U.S. dollar holdings. It has been such a huge boon to us that live here in the U.S. that the dollar has been the world reserve currency, because in theory, this is not in reality anymore, but in theory, we were the only country in the world that could actually print from debt the money that we needed to repay our global bills. Everybody else had to buy dollars in order to do that. Well, those days are coming to an end, and no country retains that position forever. So you can see China's holdings of U.S. treasuries, the lowest in over a decade, but the gold raises their reserves as the U.S. debt declines. And it's not just in China that we're seeing this happen, because we've also witnessed the U.S. weaponize their global money system, SWIFT, against those that we don't like, that aren't doing what we want. Isn't that interesting? And because the buyers, including the Federal Reserve, by the way, the buyers of U.S. treasuries are declining, well, we're having a lot more volatility in the treasury market. This is not good. This is like an earthquake. right? This is the foundation of the global financial system. It's shifting like this now. And that we've been talking about the lack of liquidity in the bonds. Well, that's where it was in 2008. And those are the only dates that are higher than it is right now. But hey, we're just headed to a soft landing. Hey, we got control of this. That's garbage. They don't. It's just a big experiment. And keeping in mind, and I mean, I'm putting my neck out here, and I have been, but keep in mind that we're not that far from June 30th. And whether or not we will see a rumble from that LIBOR to SOFR transition, whether we see it today or we see it a little bit down the road, it's got to come, because the ground underneath all of these global financial institutions are shifting, and not in a good way. Not in a good way. So how prepared are you? How prepared are you? Well, the higher the interest rates go, the more that's going to happen. And even the CBO, the budget office, expects debt service to go up and up and up. That means there'll be less money for other programs. Only way to fight inflation is with deflation. It makes it really simple. The only way to fight deflation is with inflation. So they've been walking that tightrope using their balance sheet and using interest rates. But the party is over now because they're being forced to raise the rates. And that pops the debt bubble for everyone, all over the world. And particularly in the US, because the Treasury is the base of the global financial system. So now they're in a frantic push to solve this sovereign debt crisis, and that push irks Wall Street. Physical gold, physical silver in your possession, no counterparty risk. Zero. This other stuff, all counterparty risk. Any contract is only as good as the counterparty to that. And we've already seen an increase, and that sovereigns are really in a precarious position.
Okay. Any comments? So that's a sign, like I said, when you ready to die, that in all the captivities and all the incidences that we went in dealing with the Lord of hosts, he deal with gold. So you think that it's a coincidence that when the dust settles, it's going to be gold? That's what he tell you in the scriptures. He ain't dealing with no dollar and fiat currency. Back in during the time of the Egyptians, it was gold. We read the other day, Cyrus came out with gold. They dealing with gold. That's why it's like that. They trying to set us up, and they being set up. Okay. Like I said, you think it's a coincidence that this is in individual ball? Okay. Any comment?
Shalom. Yes, I do have a comment. I'm too loud? I'm good? Okay. I'm thinking that by her coming out saying what she's saying is to alert the other ones, the other Edomites that is not aware of what's going on, to also help fight and keep whatever is going to happen, stay in the say the program, that they know what's going on. She's trying to enlighten them and have them to understand what's happening, and I guess read between the lines kind of thing. I don't think she's talking to every individual, every ethnic group as a whole. To me, it sounds like she's just speaking towards her kind.
So we go back to Psalms 83. You familiar with Psalms 83? I read it
Uh,
this morning.
yes, sir, you did read it this morning?
Right.
You're right.
So it says they all the nations are confederate. They're together against Israel. This whole thing. We the last ones to know. It's like finding out who we are. All the nations been know who we were. We just now, and then half of the people even now, 2/3 probably don't even know who they are. So they Confederate together with what they got going on. And like I said before, what they do is, you got to look at what her role is. You look at all the lies and all the information they give you through Hollywood. But at the same time, the Edomite own the movie. The Edomite made the movie. The Edomites in the movie. Look at all the money they're making off of, you know, making us look stupid. So she's acting as if she's an informant, but look at the money she's making off of it, the role she playing. They're not
Yes,
on
sir.
top they're not on top for accident. Yeah.
We saw New York City covered in an orange haze that they blamed on wildfires from Canada, saying the air was hazardous. And while this orange haze was there, they have this sign in the city welcoming the city to hell. What are people seeing? Right now, they have come with the second indictment of Donald Trump, and they're making this even more serious than the other one. How does any of this seem normal? Apple just came out with a new product called Vision Pro, which is literally going to change the world. They called it a mixed reality headset. Introducing Apple Vision Pro. Apple revealing a mixed reality headset, its first new product in years. You can see, hear, and interact with digital content just like it's in your physical space. Mixed reality. What do people really think is going on? The Fed just paused on their rate hiking agenda that they engaged in over a year, and even with rates from 0% to 5% in a year, the stock market has been virtually unfazed, even though we just had a glimmer of a banking collapse in the beginning of this year and a debt ceiling drama that was complete manipulation. Right now, we are in the month of Pride, which by itself should tell you what is going on, because it was Lucifer's sin of pride and ego that had him cast out. But anyways, I wonder to people, what exactly makes this land of the United States different from Sodom and Gomorrah? People fight more for the rights of the LGBT harder than they ever have fought for the rights of so-called black people. That overwhelming support Ellis spoke about can be seen in GLAAD's new report showing supermajorities supporting acceptance, freedom, and equal rights for the community. And I got a sinking feeling that the LGBTQ community will not let a small, hateful group of people ruin their pride this month, or any other month for that matter. And I want that community to know from the 11th hour, we see you, we love you, we need you, and we support you. Happy Pride, everyone. I want to send a message to the entire community, especially to transgender children. You are loved. You are heard. You are understood. And you belong. I mean, it's a risk for me even mentioning it on this video. What are people seeing? They're talking about UFOs and aliens more than ever. People are making reports of seeing aliens now. What do people really think is going on? The thing is that I don't think people are thinking much about anything. Much of our population are controlled by algorithms that control our minds and our way of thinking. Our minds work off news cycles and social media feeds. What we care about is what comes through most of our algorithms. We look at it for a minute or two, we share it, and we scroll on. Nothing matters to us until we're forced to make it matter. And because of the truth of all that, I feel for this world. I want to take this time to tell everyone that it will all matter soon, and most of the world will not be prepared for it. The world is being prepared for the beast system and the acceptance of the Antichrist. And it is time that you step into reality so that you do not fall into the agenda. I have a few things that need to be said. Let's begin. What is Optimum's greatest offer of all time? Introducing Optimum Complete. Okay, so through this ministry, I have tried to be consistent with giving a mixture of the word and messages about my faith, preparing people for Yahweh's kingdom, while also speaking about the secular agendas in this world and the lies we have been told and how we have been lied to and manipulated. I've made a lot of content that has been intended only to create urgency in the minds of who will listen, that our time is almost up and we need to focus on Yah. I'll be transparent that many of the messages I've made have been to speak to a personal family member of mine who's like a brother to me, that just can't seem to understand and get with all the personal warnings I've been giving him over the years. But because he is like so many others in this world, speaking to him is a message that relates to most people, even though sadly he doesn't listen. I won't say I've given up on him, but I tell you that I'm done playing games with him and with everyone else. So I'm about to be as blunt as possible. We are all being set up for a big fall. And if you cannot get your act together and get your heart right, ready for Yahweh, when the world moves against you, you are going to follow them to either death without repentance or satanic slavery that leads you bearing the mark of the beast.
Okay. Anybody got any comments? Okay. So got some need to know information right here. We're going to some Q&A. Okay.
Americans are affected as their personal data is hacked by Russian hackers. I'll let you see who is affected. And Russian President Vladimir Putin has a personal message for millions of people across the world regarding nuclear weapons. And I'll let you hear exactly what Putin has to say in this video. That's right, things are getting more than a little crazy here. Let's jump right in. Thank you for liking these videos. And if you're new here, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any new videos. Here we go. Yeah, so this is one of many that we have seen here in the past. You can see this article from several months ago. Pro-Russian hackers claim responsibility for knocking U.S. airport websites offline and getting data from U.S. airports. And this has happened here previously on multiple levels. Now, Russian cyber hackers compromised top secret defense data in historic breach. And they're concerned about top secret classified documents potentially being leaked here. There are concerns over data obtained by Russian cyber hackers from law firm HWL Ebsworth this week after more than 2.5 million documents were downloaded across multiple overseas jurisdictions. The data breach is one of the largest in Australia's history. There are concerns that Russian cyber hackers have compromised top secret defense data in historic breach, potentially breaching millions of documents. Also, U.S. government agencies hit in global cyber attack. They're not even sure how deep these breaches go yet. In addition, Russian hackers have hit multiple universities. You can see here Russian hackers admit they hit the University of Missouri. That's not all. Russian hackers allegedly breached U.S. government agencies in cyber attack. Multiple federal government agencies were hit in a global cyber attack affecting the United States, multiple different countries, including Australia, carried out by the Russian ransomware gang known as CLOP, C-L-O-P, using a vulnerability in a file sharing program popular among corporations and governments known as MOVEit, per Homeland Security officials. Also, millions of Americans' personal data exposed in this global hack. They're not even sure how deep this goes and how many millions of people's personal data is exposed. Here's what we know so far. Millions of people in Louisiana and Oregon have had their data compromised in the sprawling cyber attack that has also hit the U.S. federal government. State agencies have announced on late Thursday. The breach has affected at least 3.5 million Oregonians with driver's licenses or state ID cards, and anyone with that documentation in the state of Louisiana also. State authorities said. Casey Tingle, a senior official in the Louisiana governor's office, said Friday that more than 6 million records were compromised as well, while noting that the number is duplicative because some people have both vehicle registrations and a driver's license. The states did not blame anyone in particular for the hack, but federal.
What is a home warranty?
Okay. Any comments so far on that?
Shalom. Did they not arrest someone who did a data breach with all the intel that he was saying that he had, and he had more, and he was, they arrested him because he was putting out a lot of secret documents.
Yeah, I think there's two different situations.
Okay, you were talking about the worldwide, but I'm
Yeah,
as far
this
as the
Russian.
United States. Okay.
Yeah, this is Russian. Russian. This is like it's in it's in the U.S., but it's also global too. But it's Russian. Russian. He said it's a Russian organization. It's a group, a gang, CLOP, CLOP, that's behind this right here.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So with that being said, we're gonna open it up for some questions, comments. If anybody got any comments or questions about this morning or Friday night or anything they came across they want to talk about it. Okay.
No, just with just heard about the mixed reality, about Apple coming out with the Apple Vision Pro that
Right.
interact with like digital, supposed to be beams or whatever. Um, Back when Elon
Right.
Musk talking about AI being dangerous, it's moving, too fast or moving towards something that may not be controllable after a while. They must have some kind of patents or something. Looks like they moving forward, with it.
Right. All right. Exactly. Right. Okay. Anybody else? Questions, comments? Okay. So we are going to talk about, like I said, we pick up from this morning. We was dealing with as Esau being judged in the scriptures, because that's the narrative that they set for us. Is that uh, people looking in the scriptures and they're seeing some of the things that Esau is doing, how ruthless he is, and then the question comes about is where is he at now? And it's been in Bible schools and everywhere else, and pastors and mega pastors and all this, the reality has been set in place is that Esau was judged. We're gonna read it. I read it this morning, but I'll read it again. That he was judged. It already taken place, and that's the biggest lie I've been told. So it's so far from the truth. It's in the book of Obadiah. It says it's only one chapter. I mean, verse 17 says, "But upon Mount Zion shall be deliverance. Deliverance for who? The Israelites, us. Therefore there shall be holiness, and the house of Jacob shall possess their possessions. Their possession, that's Esau, that's been posing as Israel. And the house of Jacob shall be a flame, and the house of Joseph, a fire, and the house of Joseph a flame, and the house of Esau stubble. And they shall kindle in them and devour them, and there shall not be any remaining of the house of Esau, for the Lord has spoken it. So they saying that this already happened. Esau was none when it took place back in the time in the Old Testament that Esau was done away with, none was remaining. And I went to show you some simple things that's in the scriptures when you go to the Council of Nicaea. If you know anything about the Council of Nicaea and what happened, that's where they concocted the New Testament and JC at. But the person that was presiding over that was Edomian from Caesarea. When you know the story of Caesarea, Herod came on the scene. I'm gonna play a little clip in a minute to kind of solidify that. But Herod, when he came on the scene, he's an Edomite, king of the Jews. We Israelites. These folks are Jews. So and Herod came on the scene. You know, Herod built this city called Caesarea. It's the Edomite city. And so this guy was from Caesarea. He's an Edomite. He's the one. He was the person, the overseer at the Council of Nicaea. And so we just read that they said that in Obadiah that none remain. So where this guy come from? If all Edomites was destroyed, where he come from? And then you do your research on Hitler. He was our Edomite. Napoleon. All these people is pawns. Like I said, when you go back and if you check out the video I told you about, Puppet Master, all these people are pawns. It's no different than them than the Edomites they're using now playing the actors in Hollywood. They were pawns. They wanted during the time of World War One and two and Hitler and Germany and all that was going on. They wanted total destruction. That's how they make money, selling weapons on both sides of the war, causing havoc, tearing everything up, then come back and rebuilding it. So they built Hitler up and he brought him on the scene. And he brought all this disaster. Stalin. And then they did came back, the same thing with Napoleon. They bring these characters on the scene, manipulating us. And like I said, Julius Caesar, Cleopatra, all Edomites. The 29th dynasty in Egypt was Edomites. Okay? So once that started registering, there's a whole lot of stuff started coming together. So I had mentioned the similarities, how one of the main reasons how the big money heist, because that's all it is, that they pulled off with the what happened in Germany with the Jews in Germany, and it really got people in behind what they had today, believing that the people that's over in Israel today are the Jews. Was they looked at the stuff that happened in during the time when Hitler was on the scene. So let's look at that. So I didn't read it. That's why I'm reading it now. So this morning I didn't read it. So if we go to Ezekiel, we're gonna read it. And so we know that the curses in Deuteronomy 28 identify. That's how a lot of people are waking up, or a lot of people get jump started because of Deuteronomy 28. Those curses in Deuteronomy 28 matches our plight. So, in Ezekiel 35, these are the curses that the Lord of hosts put on Esau for his hatred for his people. So I start reading in 35 and 1. Moreover, the word of the Lord came unto me, to Ezekiel, right? Son of man, set thy face against Mount Seir and prophesy against it. Prophesy, right? Against it. And say unto it, thus said the Lord God, behold, on Mount Seir I am against thee, and I will stretch out my hand against thee, and I will make thee most desolate. So we see right here this duplicating again. Israel was desolate in Daniel 9:26. When the Antiochus came, he says, the prince that shall come shall cause the abomination to make it desolate and make Israel, land of Israel and Jerusalem desolate. So same thing here. They twins. Say unto it, thus saith the Lord God, behold, on Mount Seir I am against thee, and I will stretch out my hand against thee, and I will make thee most desolate. So just like he made Jacob desolate, he made Esau desolate right here, his homeland, right? And I will lay thy cities to waste, thou shalt be desolate, and thou shalt know that I am the Lord. Because, this is why he done it, because thou hast had a perpetual hatred, and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword, in the time of their calamity, in the time that their iniquity had an end. So this is when in Daniel, what Daniel told you about is Israel nation, the nation came to an end. Let's read that, because this is another one of those situations that people don't, they're not rightly dividing and putting it where they need to be. You go to Daniel, and it plainly tells you when the Israelites left, and it wasn't in 70 AD. So you go to Daniel chapter 7, I think it is. You have to go to another Bible. Chapter 7, chapter 8. Okay. Yeah, I'm in chapter 8. So this the vision of the ram and the he-goat. And, Daniel's had a vision of a ram and he-goat. Then Gabriel came to give him an understanding. And I'm going to pick it up in verse 18. Daniel 8 and 18 it says, now, as he was speaking with me, this Gabriel talking to Daniel, I was in a deep sleep on my face toward the ground. But he touched me and set me upright. And he said, behold, I will make thee know what shall be in the last end of indignation. For the time appointed, the end shall be. So we know it's not the end of the world because we're still here. So what end is he talking about? The nation of Israel. We're going to bring the nation of Israel to an end. Right? 20. The ram which I saw as having two horns are the kings of the Medes and Persians. And the rough goat is the king of Grecia. And the great horn that is between his eyes is the first king. That's Alexander. 22. Now that being broken, whereas four stood up for it, 4 kings shall stand up out of the nation, the Greek nation. We ain't even made it to the 4th beast. Out of that nation, the Greek nation, but not in his own power. And in the latter times of their kingdom, the Greek kingdom, when the transgressors are come to a full, a king of fierce countenance and understanding dark sentences shall stand up. That's the Antichrist. King of understanding dark sentences shall stand up. That's the Antichrist, but the person is Antioch Epiphanes. Then verse 24, this Gabriel giving them an understanding of the ram and the he-goat. The 4th beast ain't had nothing to do with it. So he says, 24, and his power shall be mighty, but not by his own power. He shall destroy wonderfully, prosper, practice, and he shall destroy the mighty. That's the kings of the earth, the Nephilim, the mighty and the holy people. There ain't but one holy people. That's Israel and Gabriel. Like I said, you're going to believe Gabriel or you're going to believe these clowns in the New Testament. Which one you going to believe? So Gabriel told us and anybody that's listening, that the Israelites gonna get destroyed in the third beast. Just like Daniel telling you, prince that shall come. He's the Antiochus. And he tell you right here, Antiochus gonna practice and prosper, and he's gonna destroy the mighty and the holy people. And then 25, through his policies also, he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand, and he shall magnify himself in his heart, and by peace he shall destroy many, and he shall also stand up against the prince of princes. Like I said, Yahweh ain't no prince. So he's excluded from this conversation. So who's the prince? Michael. Michael is the prince. He the prince of prince. He the Lord of hosts. He the prince of prince. So it says, and he shall stand up against the prince of princes, but he shall be broken without hand. So Antiochus, we know he got killed. And I'm gonna read that in a minute. So anyway, let me finish this. And the vision of the evening and the morning which was told is true. Wherefore shut up thy the vision, for it is for many days. And Daniel fainted and was sick certain days, and afterwards he rose up and did eat the king's and did the king's business, and was astonished at the vision, but none understood it. So that was Daniel was in Babylon. He's giving Daniel, the angel Gabriel came to give him understanding of what's getting ready to come. Not today, but what's getting ready to come. They in Babylon, and the second and the third beast getting ready to come. And he told him the Medes and the Persians gonna come, but this he gonna come out of nowhere, destroy the Medes and the Persians, and he gonna come. He gonna get killed. He gonna get sick. Then he gonna divide his kingdom up by 4 generals, Greek generals. Ptolemy is one of them. And then out of Ptolemy lineage was a fierce king was gonna stand up at the end of the Greek kingdom. Is none other than Antiochus Epiphanes, the prince that shall come in Daniel 9:26. And he did exactly what the scriptures had said, and what the Lord also had prophesied. He destroyed the city and ran the Israelites out. And they fled in Africa. Well, a lot of them still at today, and a lot of them over here in America. So you see that right there. So and what they did was they tell you they set up a system now. They got a school system, so they set up a school system seminary and tell you that the Antichrist is in the New Testament. That Antiochus is a type of Antichrist. But if you go to Maccabees, like I was saying, go to the book of Maccabees. These apocryphal books was in the King James Bible, but they took them out because we ain't just not started waking up. We started waking up a while back, but person here and a person now is just an escalate over the last 10 years or so. So first Maccabees, everything that was prophesied by that was in the book of Daniel, it came to pass right here in first Maccabees. Right? So we see right here, first Maccabees, chapter 1, verse 1. It came to pass. So what came to pass? What Daniel prophesied, what Gabriel came and told Daniel. It came to pass after Alexander of Macedon, the son of Philip, who came from the land of Checham, had utterly defeated Darius. That's Darius of the Medes and Persians, the king of the Medes and Persians, that he had reigned in his stead, and he had before reigned over Greece. And he had waged many wars and captured forces and slaughtered the kings of the earth. And he made his way to the ends of the earth and despoiled a multitude of nations. And the whole earth was silent before him. And he became exalted, and his heart was uplifted. And he mustered a very mighty army, ruled over the lands and rulers of the heathens, and they paid him tribute. Afterwards, just like it was Gabriel told Daniel, afterwards he fell sick. He knew that he was going to die. So he called in his distinguished servants who had been brought up with him, right? So they brought up with him. Alexander's father is Zephno. I told you Zephano at one time was in captivity under Joseph, and he fled from there. That's how they ended up in Greece. And he didn't go back to Mount Seir, where his people was at. He fled. He a mighty man, a man of war. He fled to Greece. First he went to Africa. Then from Africa he went to Greece. That's how Alexander ended up being king of the master of the Greeks. He's an Edomite, but he's in a rulership position because of Zephano was a king at one time. Zephano's grandfather was a king. They made him king. So it says, verse 8, his servants, let me go back. It says, afterwards he fell sick and knew that he was going to die. So he called in his distinguished servants who had been brought up with him, these Edomites, 4 Edomite generals. And then he divided the kingdom up among them while he was yet alive. And Alexander reigned 12 years when he died. Then his servants succeeded him, these 4 generals, each in his own dominion after his death. And they all put on crowns and their sons after them for many years. And they did much evil on the earth. And there sprang from them a sinful shoot named Antiochus Epiphanes, the son of King Antiochus. So he's the son of a king. So he's a prince. So go to Daniel 9:25. The prince that shall come, it's Antiochus. And then later on, he became the king of fierce countenance. So it says, the son of King Antiochus, he had been a hostage in Rome, and he became king. See that? He a prince at one point, then he became a king. And he became king in the 137th year of the Greek kingdom. That's at the end of the Greek kingdom. And in those days, there arose out of Israel lawless men who persuaded many and said, let us go up and make a treaty. This is 7 years that they're telling you the Antichrist is going to have. It's right here, the 7 year. 7-year treaty. Let us go and make a treaty with the heathen round about us. But ever since the time that we became separated from them, many misfortunes have overtaken us. And the 7-year plan, seemed good in their eyes. And some of the people went eagerly unto the king and authorized them to introduce practices. See that? It says they're going to practice and prosper. Practice and prosper of the king of the heathen. And they built a gymnasium in Jerusalem in the heathen fashion, right? And they committed uncircumcision and disowned the holy agreement. And they aligned themselves with the heathen and became slaves of wrongdoing. So that's Antiochus. That's the Antichrist. And this is what they've done. They misplaced, events and place them where they wanted to place them and take them out of the context the way they actually happen. But the Most High, we in the end days. We're connecting all these dots. So we see right here that they was Edomites. Alexandria of Macedon was an Edomite, but he's ruling over the Greeks, and he received that from his father Philip. Philip's father was Zephano. So let me read that right quick. I don't know about it. Some people might not have seen this before. It's in the book of Jasher, right? I'm in chapter 60. So it says in chapter 60, and when the year came around, being the 72nd year, when the Israelites going down into Egypt after the death of Joseph. So after Joseph died, Zephano, the son of Eliphaz, the son of Esau, fled from Egypt, he and his men, and they went away. And he came to Africa, which is Dinahada, I can say that name, to Angus, king of Africa. And Angus received them with great honor, and they made Zephano captain of the host. So he a mighty man, right? And Zephano found favor in the sight of Angus and in the sight of his people. And Zephano was captain of the host of Angus, king of Africa, for many days. And then this kid is over here. So then he ended up leaving them. Right, so it says, let me get it. Verse 10 says, Okay, let me get this. It says in verse 10 that this 60, Jasher 60 and 10, and when the messengers of Angus were going from the land of Chechem to take their journey, behold, the messengers of Turnus, king of Bekai, came unto Chechem. But Turnus, king of Bekai, also had sent messengers to request Jaina for him to take unto him for a wife. For all his men had also praised for him. Therefore, he sent all his servants unto her. And the servants of Turnus, let me get to the bottom of this. Okay, yeah. So 28. And when Nebius was buried, Lucas, his father, returned with his army to the land of Sarduna, and Angus, his brother, king of Africa, went to his people into the city of Bekai, that is in the city of Taurus. And the inhabitants of Bunker heard of his fame, and they were greatly afraid of him. And they went forth to meet him with weeping and supplication. And the inhabitants of Bunker entreated Angus not to slay them nor destroy their cities. And he did so, for Bacana was in those days reckoned as one of the cities of the children of Chechem, that's the Romans. Therefore he did not destroy them. But from that day forward, the troops of the king of Angus uh, would go up to Chechem and spoil and plunder it. And whenever they went, Zephno, the captain of the host of Angus, would go with them. And it was after this that Angus turned with his army, and they came to the city of Presumina, and Angus took thence Janus, the daughter of Uz, for a wife, and brought her into his city. So let's see when Zephno ended up reigning. Uh, okay. Yeah, here you go, right here. So 2023 is 61 and 23. And after the revolution of the years, the troops of our Africa continued coming to the land of Chechem to plunder as usual. And Zephno, the son of Eliphaz, heard this report, and he gave orders concerning them, and he fought with them, and they fled before him, and he delivered the land of Chechem. That's the Romans. Zephno delivered the Romans. He stopped the Africans from coming into Rome and Chechem and spoiling it. Then 24, and the children of Chechem saw the valor of Zephno, he a mighty man, and the children of Chechem resolved, and they made Zephno king over them. So from here, Zephno had a son called Philip. Then Philip had Alexander. That's how the Edomites became rulers over the Romans. It says, and he became king over them. And while he reigned, they went to subdue the children of Tubal and the surrounding islands. And there King Zephno went to their head, and they made war with Tubal and the islands, and they subdued them. And when they returned from the battle, they renewed his government for him, and they built for him a very large palace for his royal habitation and his seat. And they made a large throne for him. And Zephno reigned over the whole land of Chechem and over the land of Italia 50 years. So that's how Edomites got there, through Zephno. Okay. Any comments? That was in book of Jasher, starting at chapter 60. If you want to read that, get that information. I think it's like 3 chapters to give you all the things that happened to Zephno. He started out being captured by Joseph, and the whole time Joseph ruled in Egypt, Joseph had him in prison. And the only way he got away was when Joseph passed. He escaped. Okay. Any comments on that? Let me play this right here and then we close out.
Couldn't really appreciate it. Like I was just too green, I guess. I also didn't have a whole lot of confidence at that point that it was indeed God leading me to the information. I was thinking, maybe it's just my imagination, like I could definitely feel the something drawing me toward different places of study, different, you know, books or whatever. But it was some time before I really gained the confidence in it, and it's much later before I really got to where I felt like I could hear God's voice. A lot of his instruction was done by using a human instructor to give me information. And so with this book, I read this book. Because I didn't have a whole lot of knowledge about Judaism and the Jewish people and such, it really didn't take root too deep in me. And then I got involved in the Hebraic roots movement, which of course kind of almost deifies Judaism. You know, people in the Hebraic roots movement just have this view of the Jews where they set them on a pedestal and such. And I ended up dismissing a lot of the information in this book. And then after my experience,
Yes, book right here is Who is Esau Edom? It's the name of the book.
One with this group of people and things that just didn't feel right in relationships I would have with people in this group. Like I just knew something wasn't right. Something just it felt like there was a wall between me and them. When you would have a conversation with a Jew, and I couldn't figure out what it was. I couldn't put my hands on it. No matter how friendly you would be to them, this wall would remain. Like you could only get to be so close to them. You know, you'd be like an acquaintance, but you would never really be their friend. And recently, God brought me back to this book again. And this time when I read it, I was ready for it. And it opened my eyes to a lot of things. It connected a lot of dots for me. And so the point of all that is to say it's a really good book. You should check it out. It's a pretty short read. It's not very long. I think it's maybe 120 pages or so. You know, it's short enough you could read it in one afternoon. It's fully referenced, so you can confirm anything that this author says. All he really does is connect dots. And so it's a really good book. Mr. Weissman has passed on, but he's got a number of books he put out on topics he researched. There's another book, The 13th Tribe by Kostler. You can find that free online. You might read that also. It talks a lot about the Khazars. But in this video, we're gonna talk primarily about this book. So anything on the screen that does not have a citation is going to be from this book. Anything from another source, I'm going to have cited. So yeah, I like to provide citations on screen, but since I'm using this book so much, I'm not going to put it on every page. Just know if a slide is not cited, it's from this book. Otherwise, it will have a citation. Once again, why are we doing this? Isaiah 46 says that God declares the end from the beginning. I take it to be that he is declaring what's going to happen in the end times from Genesis, from the beginning. And he says that he's going to accomplish this. And there's things in, you know, one of the most peculiar things in the Bible to me is the way that all through the Old Testament, the Jews are the good guys. And then there's like this 300-year break between the Old Testament and the New Testament. And then, lo and behold, you know, Yeshua appears on the scene rather. And who is the bad guys? Well, the Jews are the bad guys. So how is it that Israel, including Judah, and then later on in the Old Testament, they're called the Jews, you know, the tribe of Judah is, how is it they go from being the good guy to the bad guy? And this understanding of who is Esau Edom explains that. So we're picking up, this is in Mr. Weissman's book.
says, after the conquest of Judah by the Babylonians, some of the Edomites who had mixed with the Jews in their land resettled with them in Judea. 2 centuries later, all of Edom was driven out of Mount Seir. The Edomites were driven from Petra westward by the Nabateans in 312 BC.
Yeah, we just read that. I just read it in Ezekiel 37. He made Edom desolate. That's what put him on the move. So let's look at that right quick. Because like I said, this stuff is in the scriptures, but you know, people not understanding it. I'm in Isaiah 66. So we know Esau is gonna post that red up, the red clothes. He's gonna always post that red. He got a red hair, but he gonna his clothes like in the Vatican, you know, the cardinals and all that. He's gonna post that red up. So the Most High called him out right here. I'm in Isaiah 63, verse 1. This is after he made good on his claim that he's gonna make the cities of Edom desolate. So it says 63 and 1, Isaiah 63 and 1. Who is this that cometh from Edom with dyed garments from Basra? Basra is one of the cities. There's a son called Basra. There's a city called Basra. There's a city called Teman. He got a son called Teman. He named the city after his son. Teman is the capital city in Edom. So he says, who is this that cometh from Edom with dyed garments from Basra? This is this that is glorious in its apparel, traveling in the greatness of his strength. I that speak in righteousness, mighty to save. Wherefore art thou red in thy apparel, and thy garments like him that dwelleth in the winepress. I have trodden the winepress alone, and the people there was none with me, and I will tread them in my anger and trample them in my fury, and their blood shall be sprinkled upon my garments, and I will stain all my garments, for the day of vengeance is in my heart, and the year of my redeem is come. So he's referring back to the curses he had put on them. So anyway, because he made Edom more desolate, they pushed them into Judea, and eventually they stole the land of Israel when the prophecy of Gabriel gave Daniel that he was going to bring the nation of Israel to an end. They was already in parts of it already. So when Antiochus came, and Esau wanted the land the whole time, he sided with the Greeks to help them run the Israelites out of there, and then they took it over. That's what he's going to tell you right here.
And before the middle of the 2nd century BC, they were occupying not only southern Judah, but also Hebron and the country to its north as far as Beth-zur. The Nabateans now occupied Mount Seir, and the Edomites were driven into the old territory of Judah. The Maccabean family, a remnant of the true Judahites, had ruled Judea from 166 to 37 BC. And under Judas Maccabee.
So let's look at that. This is what I'm telling you about with the Maccabees is Edomites too. So it says 166 to 137 BC. So Antiochus Epiphanes came and ran the Israelites out in 143. And the Maccabees came in right behind them. They, like I said, they rededicated the temple. That's not part of the prophecy. Gabriel told him, you're gonna destroy the temple and make it most desolate. And then that's it. You're gonna run them out and destroy the temple. These people came in, these Maccabees came in and rededicated the temple. That's not part of the prophecy the Lord gave them. So that's how you know they're Edomites. But they're trying to tell you right here, they part of they was real Jews. They weren't real Jews. The real Jews left in 143. Okay.
Recaptured the city of Hebron from the Edomites in 164 BC. During the time of John Hyrcanus, 135 to 105 BC, the nephew of Judas, the Judahites, were again faced with the hostility of the Edomians. Hyrcanus confronted the Edomites, causing a decisive change in the relations between the two factions. John Hyrcanus conquered the whole of Edom
and took the forced conversion of his inhabitants to Judaism. Thenceforth, the Edomites became a section of the Jewish people.
Right.
So, the Old Testament, of course, is coming from Hebrew and Aramaic sources. So the land of Edom is referred to as Edomites, Mount Seir. Now, when the Greek language comes in as the source documents, the land that they're occupying is referred to as Idumea, exactly, with an I. Same thing. It's just the way the language is transliterated is all that is. So Idumeans is Edomites essentially. So
okay. So like I was saying before, that's where the trick come in at, and most people don't know that. But like I said, Julius Caesar, Napoleon, Hitler, Josephus, them all Edomites. And now that we waking up, we got people referencing them and what they said as if they was Israelites. They Edomites. That has to be rightly divided and understood. Unless you're going to constantly be getting duped if you don't understand that. Okay, so we'll see if anybody have any comments or questions on what anything before we go close out the Shabbat. Any comments, questions? Okay, everybody good?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So like I said, I enjoy the Shabbat, and I'll see everybody on Tuesday for our advanced Bible study at 8 o'clock.
Thank
Shalom.
you.
Okay.
Shalom, everyone.
Okay.
Shalom.
Okay.
Shalom, everyone.